Right, guys, this is the sort of August, almost September garden tour, and there is a massive abundance of food sort of being grown in the garden. And what I'm going to talk about a little bit in this tour as well is preserving and what to do with the abundance of crops. So I thought I'd start the tour at the sunflower and squash bed because everything here is growing like crazy, and I have a very awesome sort of harvest I want to do, and I want to sort of share with you guys. So before I went on holiday, yeah, about 10 days ago, there was a fruit growing in this squash plant with patty pan sunburst squash, and it was quite big, but it wasn't ready. And I've come back and oh my Jesus, bit of a whopper for a patty pan. Oh, and here we go. This is yeah, like I said, a patty pan sunburst squash. A bit like any kind of summer squash. You can grill these, you can roast these, and I think when they're much smaller than this, you can even eat them raw. But other than a tiny mark on the bottom, it's almost a perfect patty pan. So yeah, looking forward to eating this. I'm probably going to end up baking half of it and um, having a look at how I can maybe preserve the other half of it. So just while we're on the squash bed, I'll show you just the baby bear pumpkins, which are just growing down here, starting to turn a bit orange, and there's another one over there. Um, and this coolest thing about this bed is the massive multi-headed sunflowers. Now, one of them up here, I'm going to try and zoom in for you, but the light's not going to show very well, is starting to flower. But I'm 29th of August today, and the sunflowers are only just starting to flower. So um, might be because I started them a bit late, or just because they've grown so massive. They put loads of energy into the leaf and root system rather than into the flowers. So over on this bed here, I've still got all the leeks. The leeks are some of them are massive now, and I'll try and get some close-ups. And they're almost ready for harvesting. But I'm gonna be sort of picking as and when because I pretty much got all the way till spring to harvest these before they start trying to run to seed. I've got my row of carrots here doing quite well. None of them look quite ready yet, but they're growing away quite happily. I've got some Mizuna, which is looking like it's going to flower soon. The Brussels sprout plant here is doing really well. It's a little bit pecked with holes, but still not much damage to it, which I'm really impressed with. So I'm hoping we get some Brussels sprouts this Christmas. I've got my sage and my chives doing their thing, and I've got some absolutely lovely spinach growing as well. That right now is looking fabulous. Some really nice big broad leaves, a little bit of leaf minor damage, but I'm not too worried about that. I can cut away those parts and still get a nice leaf for eating. Right, before we move on with the tour, I am making a dedicated video on this, but this is the Lola Rosa lettuce that I'm saving for seed. I'm going to make a whole video on this, on how to save the seed, but you can see here these yellow ones are the flowers. They look kind of cool, and you can see here on this white stuff, if we look closely at this, and I'll make, again, this will be included in the video. Oh, I'll see if I can get the zoom to work. In there, in that white fluffy section, is the seeds that I want to save. So that's what we're going to be trying to save when we do this. And in the whole video, I'll go through the whole process on how to do that. Now, this bed here, the main sort of thing that's obviously quite noticeable is the potato plants, and they've got these beautiful little purple flowers flowering on them. So I believe the variety I'm growing is Maris Pear, which is a second early variety, I think, and it's something that I'm going to be harvesting sort of before the frosts come in, and hopefully getting harvest. But I am going to do a bit of an experiment with one plant where I'm going to leave one plant in the ground, mulch it with sort of straw and things like that, and see if I can actually dig it up on Boxing Day or whenever, and see if it's managed to protect the potatoes from the frost, which would obviously allow you to sort of store your potatoes in the ground, which I think would be much easier than pulling them up and storing them somewhere else. Um, as well as that, I've also got some parsnips down here. I'll try and get some shots of that. I've got a couple sort of Asian greens growing here, some pak choi and things like that, which aren't doing very well. Some Chinese cabbage, which is really hit and miss. Some plants are doing amazing, other plants aren't. Got the nasturtiums over here growing away. They're coming near the end now. Going to have to sort of pull those up. And then just in front of that, I've got the chard and the lamb's lettuce growing quite nicely. So just going to talk about these lamb's lettuce here. So these are kind of like a winter salad, which will survive outside. So I planted these maybe 6 weeks ago, maybe, and they make these little cute rosettes of leaves. I've got these under a bit of bird netting just to stop the birds pecking at them. But they'll survive throughout the winter and then give a really early harvest in the spring as well. You might even be able to get a winter harvest if you were growing this undercover. And obviously we've got the chard here, which we know lasts for the winter as well. So the hoop house bed with all my brassicas in. Um, I'll show you some close-ups, but there is so much caterpillar damage here. I'm really not sure if these guys are going to survive. My only hope now is that caterpillar season sort of passes and that these can still form up, make a head in time for winter. But I'll go through it and things. But some of the cabbages are doing better than others. Some of the inner leaves aren't munched on, whereas all the outer ones are. And I think that's probably okay. Kale is starting to get munched on now. That was sort of surviving at one point, but some plants better than others. But I'm just gonna have to do a bit of a recce and pick off lots of caterpillars. Um, my red cabbage, Ruby Ball, is looking quite good. Some of the outer leaves again really damaged, but actually not looking too bad. Now this very sort of congested part, where I've got the sort of silverleaf chard growing really nicely. Going to harvest some of that, I think, because I'm sort of doing a stir fry this evening. Um, I've got beetroot as well for the first time in ages. That's actually doing really well. Got some really nice beets there. They're probably ready to harvest actually, but I'm going to wait for them to get a little bit bigger. And then again, I've got some more Mizuna, which isn't bolting just yet, which is great. I'll hopefully be able to pick some more harvest from that. All right, so I'm just going to sort of wrap up the tour by looking at the undercover growing. I've got my little garden pearl tomatoes here, which honestly are so good and so like sort of hardy and just look after themselves. And these are so sweet and delicious as well. Incredible tomato. Now, undercover. So I've just actually done a bit of a harvest of my San Marzano tomatoes, and I've got a nice bowl of these plum tomatoes here. I'm going to make a sauce out of. Again, that's something you got to think about with tomatoes. You can eat so many fresh and things, but after a while, you need to think about like canning and things like that. And I've also done the same with my peppers. I've picked all my ripe ones. So long, slim cayenne. They're I think my spiciest ones. A tiny baby habanero. I picked him because he was yellow completely, and he's tiny. I don't really know what I'm going to do with him. I might throw him into something. And then I've got some nice green serrano chili peppers. Now, again, with preserving these, what I'm going to be doing with these is drying these. So what you can do is basically thread a thread through the stalk, make almost like a necklace out of chili peppers, hang them up somewhere that's dry. Now, supposedly the ideal temperature is about 25 degrees, which in the English summer, is not really achievable, but potentially a greenhouse conservatory, somewhere like that is your best sort of chance for drying that. Now, in regards to beefsteak tomatoes, these are some lovely black Russians. However, my prized black Russian, my biggest one, I found red-handed when I got back from my holiday a snail in here, and it's pretty much eaten it all. Well, or at least it's made some horrible marks in it. I might still be able to eat that, but it's a case of cutting it off and cleaning it up. So a bit gross, bit of a shame. But fortunately, sorry, there are lots of other ones here as well. So still plenty of tomatoes, and there's still quite a few yellowy green ones which will be coming on, and there's a few if I look hard enough back there as well. Just something I quickly share with you all is my method for drying onions. So these are the onions I grew from seed in January, and basically because this greenhouse is where I normally do my propagating seedlings and things, but I'm not doing much of that at the minute. So it's a really good place to sort of store and dry your onions out. Just an idea for you all. So just going to end my tour here at the blueberry bush, which before I went on holiday was getting quite sparse of ripe blueberries, but now coming back after 10 days away, and there is an absolute abundance of blueberries again to eat, which is great. So yeah, that's the sort of August September garden tour. I really hope you like this video. We're going to be doing lots more videos on sort of saving lettuce seed. We're going to do some videos on certain harvests that we've still got to do in the garden and things, the best way of sort of preserving and storing them. So if you like this video or if you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you all soon.